It was my number 2 at some point, but now that I think, this series has a tiny issue of walking on a dangerous line between a tragic story and a depressing one. But with the exception of that, and one or two more minor inconveniences, it was kinda a perfect thing at a perfect time, at the perfect place. This series chronicles the life of Scar, from birth to death, and later even the events before and after that. It tries to be canon through answering some unanswered questions, but it also has its own OCs. Scar has 4 more daughters here, and they are all much older than Nuka. The story is written in a way that no matter if you want Scar and Zero to be pure evil, or if you want them to be tragic figures, and even somehow consider the heroes as the villains, you will enjoy it. No matter how you want these characters to be written or what a good Lion King story is, you will find enough things to appreciate in this story. This is a must-read story for every single Lion King fan because it has something for everyone. After all the tragedies, the story will end on a bittersweet note that is satisfying enough. You will get attached to this story and its characters so that you will be sad when the story is over and you will dive into that DeviantArt page to find more of it. But be careful because the alternate universes like Dark Times or Taka's alternative theory are nowhere near as good as the mainline comics because they lack the beautiful story and character moments. But the mainline comics are beautiful. Scar is still the villain of the story, but he has so many little human moments here and there that makes me adore him. He is far from a perfect husband or father, but he tries his best, and although it's not obvious, he will show that he cares about his wife and children. Depending on the way you look at these comics, it is either the story of hurt people who hurt people, or the story of a man who already has all he needs, and yet because of greed and hatred, he keeps taking more and more from everyone until he loses everything. Spoilers ahead. In chapter 0, we see the childhood of Ahadi and Uru. Uru is the daughter of King Mohatu and the future queen of Pridelands, and Ahadi is a rogue cop. He would lose his mother to the hardship of being rogue. They will randomly meet Uru and Mohatu and they get invited to Pridelands. But Ahadi's father won't accept it. But then Ahadi says, "You should be happy that there is someone who cares for me. Then you don't have to, father." So he agrees. But after a while everyone realizes he only brings trouble. A pride is like a cage for him, so he asks Mohatu to take care of Ahadi and then he leaves Pridelands without even saying goodbye to his son. For a person like him, this is as selfless as it gets. The best thing to do would be to stay in Pridelands and change for the sake of his son. But also the worst thing would be to bring his son out of Pridelands with him. Ahadi will hate his father, but he will have a good life in Pridelands. He will become a great hunter and defender. Mohatu asks him to become the future king because he knows he and Uru are in love. In chapter 1, we see that Mufasa plays rough with Taka. He isn't Taka's only problem. There is also Serafina's big brother Riku, who is a bully, and Taka is his favorite victim. Riku tells Taka that when he grows up, he has to leave. Taka doesn't want to play with others anymore because he will either get bullied or babied. Ahadi tells him that he will talk to Mufasa about it, but he himself should also learn to be more confident. He also says that Taka doesn't have to leave Pridelands when he grows up. Mufasa is angry at Taka for making Ahadi angry at him, but Sarabi is kind to Taka, which is because she has a crush on him. Taka will accidentally end up in the elephant graveyard and see Shenzi, Banzai and Ed. Taka doesn't even know what they are, but the first thing that comes to his mind is playing with them. Freya, the leader of the hyenas, shows up. When she realizes he is the second son of king and queen, she comes up with a plan. From now on, she will slowly corrupt Taka. She asks Taka if he ran away because he isn't the future king. Taka says that he is not jealous. He just wants to be taken seriously, which won't happen because of his small size. Freya says she knew lions were cruel, but she never thought they would be cruel to their own cubs. Freya says the fact that they let him be this far from home proves it. Taka asks her if it means they hate him, but she says they do love him, but they love his big brother more. If he was lost, they would immediately search for him. Taka disagrees with everything she says and tells her that his parents will look for him. Mufasa, Sarabi and Serafina will look for Taka without telling their parents because Mufasa told them his parents would be really mad at him because he promised to keep an eye on him. When it's almost dark, Taka decides to go home himself. Freya tells him how to reach Pride Rock and also that he can always come to them when he needs help. Mufasa will pull Taka's ears for running off. Ahadi will scold Mufasa for this a little bit, but both brothers are not in big trouble because the parents don't know Taka was far from home. Taka tries to be mad at his parents for not being worried for him, but Uru's kind words do the job. Ahadi isn't mad at Mufasa, but he tells him to be a good example for Taka. He can't lash out because someone won't listen to him immediately. He needs to learn that lesson to become a good king. Sina, Serafina's mother, will show pridelands to Taka because his parents are busy. This annoys Taka, but Sina says Ahadi will surely teach him as well when he grows up a little bit. Taka won't tell anyone where he was yesterday, but when Sarabi tells him that she is his best friend, Taka will whisper it in her ears. Apparently, Freya isn't the only one who taught manipulation to Taka. Sarabi is horrified when Taka tells her. She promises that she won't tell anyone, but also makes Taka promise that he won't go there again. A promise that he will break the moment the rest start taking a nap, because the hyenas aren't the only ones who play with him as an equal. Sarabi will also break her promise and tell Mufasa about it when she sees Taka isn't there. Taka will be back soon, but Mufasa will slap him for making trouble. Taka will jump on Mufasa for it, and Sina will show up at that exact moment and blames Taka. With an angry face, Sarabi tells Mufasa that he was lucky she didn't see him slap first. Taka will get grounded for a day. He will again run away to the hyenas. Sarabi feels bad and tries to find and talk to Taka alone. She sees him being hugged by Freya. Freya tells him that he won't be mad at him for telling others about their meetings, because friends are never mad at each other. But seemingly Taka is the only lion who knows friendship. The other lions hate him because he is better than them. Sarabi hears it and joins them to warn Taka about Freya's lies, and also says that she is Taka's friend. Freya asks Sarabi if she really is his friend if she has told others where Taka is. Sarabi apologizes to Taka but tells him to come with her because Ahadi would be much harsher if he sees him here. Freya also suggests that but tells him that later it would be his choice where he belongs. Taka goes with Sarabi. Sarabi tells Taka that she will tell Ahadi she found him at the waterhole, but Ahadi was right behind them and he already knew where Taka was. He will tell Taka that he will stay in the cave until he learns that lions and hyenas can never be friends. Ahadi hates hyenas with a burning passion because his mother died because of the injuries given by the hyenas. Mufasa feels bad. He wonders how bad of a brother he is if Taka would rather spend time with hyenas than his own brother. Mufasa blames himself. Taka hears mean stuff from other lions for befriending hyenas, from both cubs and adults. Taka tells his mother that he enjoyed being with the hyenas because he would always win against them. Meanwhile, he would always lose to Mufasa. Uru says that is not noble. Taka says he wished he wasn't a lion. Uru tells him that he is still young and doesn't know exactly what he wants. A classic you will understand when you grow up moment, which is parental manipulation 101. The next day, Taka only sees Riku in the cave. He says he is willing to become friends with him, and as a proof he will teach him how to hunt. This is a plan to kill Taka because Riku is madly in love with Sarabi, and when she tells him that she loves Taka and not him, he decides to kill Taka. When Taka realizes it, he runs away but reaches a dead end. He shouts, begging his parents to save him, promising them to become kind and obedient. Riku attacks him and gives him his signature Scar. Taka becoming Scar was a gradual transformation. Multiple events slowly turned him to darkness, but this event is probably the most important. This was the final straw. Taka becomes cruel from now on. Before Riku attacks him again, the hyenas show up to protect Taka. Riku begs Taka to make his hyena friends stop, but Taka will enjoy witnessing his death. Uru and Sino show up, and when Sino sees that her son is dead while Taka is hugging Freya, she descends into madness. She calls Taka a murderer and tells Uru that Taka belongs to the hyenas. Freya agrees that Taka belongs to them. After all, he was attacked by a lion but got saved by hyenas. Uru commands Freya to get out, and yet again Freya takes advantage. She tells them that if they saved Mufasa instead, they would be thankful. It works on Taka, and this scar will forever remind him of this belief. Serafina and her mother will hate Taka from now on, but Ahadi heard from Taka that Riku wanted to kill him, so he warns them that if they hurt Taka, they will be banished. When Taka hears his father saying that he will kill all the hyenas if they get close to Taka again, it's the nailing on the coffin. Serafina is the first to nickname Taka Scar, and he hates it. He now is the antisocial lion we know and love/hate. As a cub, he always wanted to learn how to hunt, but not anymore because with the exception of Uru and Sarabi, all the lionesses call him Scar. Man, they kind of brought this upon themselves, didn't they? Sarabi misses the old Taka. Freya tells Taka to end his friendship with Sarabi because it's her fault that Riku attacked him, which isn't wrong. What is wrong is that she says Sarabi's love for him is fake. Taka will find a cub named Zero. He takes her to his cave away from the pride because his parents don't accept strangers anymore. That is because Ahadi and Uru believe that Riku was evil because of his blood, which is racist if you ask me. It's just dumb. They haven't seen one single violent act from Riku's father, and yet they believe Riku inherited from him. The situation gets worse when you remember that Ahadi is a rogue himself. Hypocrisy and paranoia. These two things are a part of Ahadi in 90% of the Lion King fan media. Zero is already flirting. We will see a heartbreaking moment between Taka and Uru. Serafina sees Zero and tells Scar how mad his parents would be when they find it out. And Scar says how tragic it would be when he introduced the hyenas to Riku's sister. Zero tells Scar that she never saw her father and her mother was killed by Zero's aunt because of jealousy. Sarabi will show up and Scar tells her that he blames her for what Riku did to him. So even Sarabi leaves him. When Mufasa is comforting a heartbroken Sarabi, Serafina hears what Sarabi is saying and realizes Riku wasn't innocent. Now Serafina is guilt-driven. It is her fault that Taka is avoiding everyone. Serafina tells her mother that they should tell the reality to Ahadi and Uru so that they would get rid of this stupid rule, and as a result this poor cub could stay here. But all her mother hears is that Taka has a little secret that is a perfect opportunity for revenge. She enters Scar's cave and gives Zero her signature ear notch. Then she attacks Scar. The royal family show up and banish her as a result. Serafina chooses to go with her mother. The law says the same, and the only way Zero can stay is to marry a pridelander. Scar tells Ahadi that he wants to marry Zero when they grow up. Ahadi reluctantly agrees. Now Sarabi is really sad that Scar doesn't love her. Mufasa will comfort Sarabi, which would be the start of their romance. Scar tells Zero that he wants to show her to his other family members. Who are the hyenas? Zero doesn't like the hyenas, but Scar tells her that lions killed her mother. Meanwhile, a hyena has never harmed her yet. Time passes and Zero becomes a great solo hunter, but she won't slow down for the rest. So Uru will talk to her because of it. And Zero has a specific dislike to her for some reason. Zero never stopped being playful around Scar. She sees her old pride and asks Scar to help her have revenge. Scar says the two of them won't be enough against a pride, which angers Zero. She says no wonder your brother is the future king. So Scar decides to take down that pride alone to show his worth to Zero, and maybe even convince Ahadi to king him instead, which was a mistake. So Freya will take Ahadi and Mufasa to Scar by making them follow her. While they chase off the rest, Scar kills Zero's aunt, but Scar himself will be knocked out for a few days as a result. Zero will cry her eyes out until he wakes up. Scar will be mad at Zero for making him look like a fool, but he will apologize in his own way, and the chapter will end with them stargazing. In chapter 2, Zero will realize she is pregnant. She and Scar are over the moon. Uru is also happy about it, but Ahadi, he says he is happy, but he doesn't show it at all. He says according to the law, the future king should become a father first, and I am horrified of its implications. A pregnant Serafina will show up, and despite the rules that Ahadi is always talking about, he lets Serafina stay, despite not knowing who the father of the cub is. As Scar will say, the rules are only against him. Is he wrong though? Ahadi was just one step away from saying let's kill my unborn grand cub, and yet he is totally fine with a cub who he doesn't even know its father. I'm really starting to think Ahadi hates Scar. He is willing to break the rules for Mufasa but never for Scar. This enrages Zero, so later she will attack Mufasa. In self-defense, he hits her in the stomach, which would result in the death of one of the cubs in Zero's belly. I know it is Zero's fault for attacking someone when she is pregnant, but I really felt bad for her here. Mufasa didn't want to do that, but it happened, and he will feel guilty for it. Something that Scar makes sure Mufasa will remember. The dead cub was a boy named Chaka, and the surviving one is a girl named Azra. We will flash forward a little bit. Azra is a happy and playful cub and is capable of walking and talking by the time Simba is born. Scar's fatherhood is similar to most real-life lions. He is a grumpy father. Azra asks Scar if him being a prince makes her a princess. Scar says she will only become a princess if he becomes king, which will only happen if something happens to both Mufasa and Simba. Azra says it would be nice to be a princess, but it won't be a pleasure if it was the result of a tragedy. This is when Scar starts planning to kill Mufasa and Simba. Yes, Scar gets his evil idea from the innocent thoughts of a cub. Ahadi is talking to Uru about Scar. He says that maybe he should convince Mufasa to make Scar and his family live and become rogues. Azra was approaching them, and when she hears it, she runs to her mother, tears in her eyes, wondering why her grandpa hates them. Poor girl. His reason is that Scar took after Ahadi's father. He is a rogue at heart. This is a very conflicting moment that shows how well written this comic is. For years, Ahadi hated his father for leaving him, but now he understands him. Some lions are just too proud to be part of a pride. He didn't want to see his father again, but now he wishes he was here. He would understand Scar the most, and he would be a much better father to Scar that he could never have ever been. I can see that he wants the best for Scar. He genuinely believes Scar would be a much happier person as a rogue because he would be his own boss. But here's the thing, he has experienced firsthand how hard it is to live as a rogue. He lost his mother to that lifestyle, and also considering how physically weak Scar is, he is basically sentencing him to death. I could easily see a timeline in which Scar's family did get banished, and at least one member of that family died. Zero approaches Ahadi, mad. Ahadi tells her that he wants to banish them because Scar deserves to be more than just being a subordinate lion. Zero agrees and says that's why Mufasa will be overthrown. They will engage in a fight. Azra doesn't want her family to fight each other, so she tries to stop it, and as a result, she will fall in the gorge. But Scar actually saves her from falling to her death. Scar is grumpy, yes, but look at his horrified face here. It is obvious he would die for his daughter. This is one of the best pages of the series, so heartwarming. The next page, however, Scar is done with Ahadi. From Scar's point of view, Ahadi hates him, not looking for him when he is missing, preventing him from seeing his friend, telling him to be like Mufasa over and over again, chasing away the ones that saved his life, being kind to the family that wronged him, always reminding the rules to him meanwhile breaking them for Mufasa, not seeing his wife as his family, not congratulating him for becoming a father, closing his eyes to the murder of his son, trying to banish him and his family, and now even trying to kill his daughter. Scar is going to kill his own father. Of course, these aren't literally what Ahadi did, but when he doesn't explain properly to him why he is like this, when there is not enough communications, does Scar's act really look villainous when you look at it from his point of view? In his eyes, he is just protecting his wife and daughter. So the hyenas will tear Ahadi's body apart in front of Azra's eyes. Azra is waiting for her father to help her grandpa, but to her horror, he just stands and watches with a smile. Ahadi won't go out without a fight and kills Freya before he dies. Even in death, he finds a way to annoy Scar. Scar pretends to hate himself because of befriending the hyenas that killed his father. Uru tells him not to be harsh on himself and says that now she knows they should all stick together as a family all the time. They should enjoy every single day they have. Azra is shocked, asking Zero if Scar is a murderer. Zero lashes out and says he did it to protect his family. The whole circle of life and the great kings of the past thing is nothing but a lie, and they should be harsh to survive because they live in a terrible world. It would be good if Scar also talked to Azra about it, but whatever. Scar is actually sad about Freya's death. It would be cool if Scar actually took advantage of his own feelings. He could be sad for real in front of everyone, so they would believe him, not knowing that he is actually mourning for Freya and not Ahadi. Zero asks him if there is another person in his life that is more important to him than the hyenas, and Scar's answer was, "Is Kitty jealous?" Never change, Scar. Never change. Later, Azra tells Scar that she is the fastest cop here. Scar says she is the only cop here. Azra asks why he is so mean. I can just hear a small chuckle that Scar might give after that. Somehow he manages to be a bad influence and a sweet father at the same time. Scar is so happy about his father's death that he can't even pretend to be sad for more than a day. Scar's indifference frightens Uru. For a moment she thinks Scar is happy about his death, a thought that she gets rid of instantly. Azra will see Nala. She wants her to explore pridelands with her, but she opposes. Azra pulls Nala's leg and Serafino yells at her. Girl, you could say that without shouting. Yes, Azra did a bad thing, but she is a cop. She shouldn't know the rightness and wrongness of everything from the go, which is what Zero agrees with. Serafino tells Zero why her daughter was alone. Zero says Scar was supposed to keep an eye on her. Serafino makes fun of Zero for having a husband like that, and Zero says at least her mates didn't abandon her. Serafino jumps on Zero for that. Zero isn't the only one with anger issues. Zero picks up Azra and leaves, showing this event as a proof to make Azra avoid others. Zero will kick out Scar for the night for being irresponsible, so he will sleep with the hyenas, and when he is asleep he moves more than when he is awake. Zero tells Azra that she will become a sister soon. This chapter ends with Scar and Zero standing next to each other menacingly, fantasizing about the day they become rulers, while Azra is playing out innocently. In chapter 3, we see a brief look into the future before seeing Scar and Zero as the rulers. By the time Kiara and Kovu have twin sons named Kesar and Nuru, Scar and Zero are referred as the Dark Lion and his witch. They are described as monsters that eat babies, and it is forbidden to tell their real story, which is messed up because yeah, they were evil, but they should receive the same amount of hatred that they deserve. They were horrible people, but they are not baby killers. They are evil, but they are not as evil as they are described here. These two characters are fictional, but in that fictional universe they are real people. Turning real people into fairy tale monsters just feels wrong to me. It's dishonest, disrespectful, and biased. You can't just make up lies about someone who wronged you. Everyone should be punished as they deserve, not more than that. Scar and Zero now have triplets, all three of them female, which doesn't satisfy Scar because he believes women will decide based on feelings, as if he himself isn't exactly that. He surely did inherit hypocrisy from Ahadi. The triplets are named Faida, Hila, and Hasira. Scar and Zero's dynamic is toxic, and yet they have so much personality, and they just do bad things so deliciously that makes this toxic relationship very entertaining and lovely. They're the villains after all. Shouldn't this be considered a positive point in this specific case? And their triplets, my god, they are evil in such a sweet way. I know evil kids aren't really a unique thing, but I don't care that it is fan-made. This is my favorite case of it, at least for when they are cops. When they grow up, the novelty will wear off, but for the moment they are demon spawns and I love them because of it. They are such big fans of their father's evilness. They would outdo their father in evilness if they had the chance, but for now enjoy all the horrible torture mechanisms they are imagining for Zazu. Azra will stand up against the hyenas for Nala, but Nala attacks her because her father invited the hyenas in the first place. Another proof for the poor girl to believe the lies of her parents. But are they even lies at this point? Azra will see some rogue lionesses. At first she wants to tell her father, but the moment she reaches him she decides to be mad at him for not making her the future queen. Scar tells her that her mother would be disappointed in her favorite daughter if she didn't help him protect her sisters. So Azra tells him Nala's father will show up and he will secretly meet his family a few times. Then we see a very cute daddy Scar moment. I mean, look at him giving birth to his triplets. It's so cute, isn't it so cute? It's definitely so very cute. At their birth, he didn't seem to be happy, but that's just how he is. He doesn't show emotions a lot, but when you see rare moments here and there, it hits much harder. He doesn't show it, but he cares for all his cubs. Why couldn't he just raise his family instead of being thirsty for power and blood? Okay, this story will try to adapt madness of King Scar, as some Lion King fan projects tend to do, but since the one single redeeming quality of Scar here is being loyal to his one and only wife, we will see an interesting twist on it. Scar will force Nala to marry his future son, or else Mitu would die, which means she would either be betrothed to Nuka or Kovu. Boy, what weird timeline that would have been. Zero is mad at Scar for tainting their future bloodline by mixing it with Serafina's breed. Scar asks her to stop yelling at him, and Zero's answer to that is, I'm your wife. It's my job to yell at you. Man, why is there so many god tier lines in this series? Scar tells Zero that he spared me too because the best way to keep lionesses under control is above their cubs. Nala asks her father for help. She asks her father to kill Scar. She tells him that no one would cry for him if he dies, which is kinda manipulative. I know she is justified to want Scar dead, but no one would cry for Scar? She takes advantage of her father's good heart. Isn't she considering how guilty her father would feel when he realizes how many cubs he has orphaned? Uru will scold Zero for her bad manners. Zero will complain about her to Scar, and Scar, being frustrated about how many times she complains about him about his mother, just tells her to deal with it herself. He also says, "We have enough female cubs, Zero. I don't need another one." Out of context, it's sexist, but he actually refers to the fact that Zero acts childish sometimes, which makes it a funny yet true line. And yes, Zero's childish acts will become a negative point from now on. When Scar is alone, Nala's father is ready to kill him, but when he sees that Scar has a family, he stops. Azra accuses Scar for favoring Nala over his own daughter by making her the future queen. Scar tells her that it will never make Nala higher rank than her. Azra asks why he can't just choose one of his daughters as the future ruler. Scar says because they will make a mistake. Azra says, "What mistakes do you mean?" And Scar's answer is Ahadi. Scar's trauma never stopped affecting him, did it? Uru realizes what Scar wants to do with Nala and will scold him for it, which leads to another candidate for the best moment in the series. Uru says punishing Nala just out of spite for Serafina is wrong. She says she didn't raise him like this. Scar says the only thing she taught him was how weak he was, but she is the weak one for letting Ahadi the fool to run her kingdom. She says he will be in trouble if he doesn't undo his mistake, but he says she will be in trouble. Uru is sad now. She tells him she fought so hard to make him survive his first few days as an infant. And Scar says, "Maybe it would be better if you didn't, mother," which says so much about him. He isn't a monster here. He is a sad, broken man who can't let go of the past. He knows what he did and does and will do are wrong, and yet he believes he is too weak to fight against his dark side. Uru still calls him Taka because she refuses to believe her little Taka died years before Mufasa. Uru catches Scar off guard by actually referring to him as Scar. She is one step from breaking into tears. She asks him why he became so cold, wondering what secret he has, if something terrible happened after Mufasa's death. Scar is done with her and says that the death of Ahadi and Mufasa are actually the best things that happened in his life. Uru slaps Scar, saying he isn't her son anymore, vowing to save Nala from him. Zero tells Uru that she heard everything and now knows her mate has lost it. She will apologize to Uru and tells her which way they should go in order to leave Pridelands while avoiding the hyenas. This is obviously a trap and Uru will fall for it. The hyenas find Uru and Nala, and I have to say this series does the hyenas so dirty. With the exception of Freya, all of them are just brainless and heartless monsters. Shenzi doesn't even know who Uru is, so she attacks her. Uru makes sure Nala will run away, but at the cost of her own life. Scar will run to his mother. Mitu, Serafino and her mate were there by accident. Uru will spend her final moments with her little Taka. She sees how sad Scar is. He tells Uru that he never wanted this. She wasn't like the others. Uru was a good mother to him. What he says makes her happy. Uru dies happily. Scar's final goodbye to his mother never fails to make me cry. Some would expect him to blame Serafina and her family and kill them as a result. But to their shock, he tells them to leave before he changes his mind. You can probably guess from Scar's face what he thinks. He blames himself for Uru's death. The hyenas were only doing what he told them, to kill anyone who enters or exists Pridelands. And Uru would never live in the first place if he didn't make some cruel decisions. He knows if Nala and her family die now, Uru's sacrifice would be in vain. Zira will approach her heartbroken mate, and the way Zira approaches Scar is similar to how he approached Simba when he killed Mufasa. Boy, karma does its job in a messed up way sometimes. Some Lion King fans wonder who is more evil, Scar or Zira. I mean, you could easily say Scar because he actually has killed someone in canon, but that's more about situations and less about decisions. Zira would have also killed Mufasa in that situation, and who knows, maybe Zira would even kill Simba herself if she was in Scar's shoes. And I believe the artist also agrees with me, considering the fact that Zira kills Scar's mother here. She did something cruel to Scar, the only one who actually was kind to her. And despite that, Zira secretly smiles when her beloved Scar is feeling grief. She is happy that her loved one is sad, which is a level of evilness that I don't know if Scar would reach or not. I genuinely don't know if Scar would do the same to Zira. We will flash forward and see Nuka's birth. And Nuka is so weak and small, baby Taka looks like a healthy cub next to him. Scar is not amused. He has reached the highest peak of hypocrisy, and just like Ahadi, he will be far from a good father to Nuka. At this point, I am sure he loves Nuka. I can look at this and not assume he will love all his cubs no matter what. But that's just how he is. For someone like him, it is hard to show emotions. Do you insult me? No, Nuka, you get me wrong. It's just I'm worried that something could happen to you. After all, you are my favorite son. Sure, I am your only son. Yes, that's my problem. My god, Scar's dynamic with his family. Azra will chase away some rogues, which makes Scar proud of her, and it makes the triplets jealous. So when they realize Azra is dating the leader of the Pride that have been intruding Pridelands, they will tell it to Scar with pleasure. This lion is named Valido, and his first time meeting Azra is hilarious. Wow. You have inherited a good strike from your daddy, huh? Well, I got it from my mother. Like your beautiful green eyes, I guess? No, I have my father's eyes. Scar will be angry when he finds it out. It would be funny if when the triplets were about to say to Scar, he would say it before them to show them he already knew, but whatever. Azra tells Scar that Valido really loves her, but Scar won't buy it. She tries to guilt drive Scar, but if Scar felt guilty, he would have ended his circle of life himself long ago. Azra says that Zira was also a rogue, but Scar says she was just one single child. But they are talking about a whole pride now. Azra asks Scar if he wants her to be alone forever. She tells him to at least let her see him once again, to tell him something important. Azra will be grounded for this. Scar says she can have a mate when he thinks his daughter is ready. But for now she is a young fool. Weeks will pass and Azra won't hear a single message, which means Scar was right about Valido only wanting Azra to gain power. Now that she has learned her lessons, she isn't grounded anymore. Scar asks Azra if there is something she wants to tell him. She won't say what he wants. He tells her that she is lucky that she is his daughter. One mistake is bearable, but to make another, it could be her last one. Scar still believes that Azra could fall in love with any guy, but he will admit that she will become a good mother one day. One day that she has matured enough to have a mate. He will say this to Azra when he sees her being a good big sister to Nuka. This page has so much to talk about. Depending on the way you look at it, Scar is either a monster that disgraces the word father or actually a pretty good father. It just shows how good of a Scar spin-off this comic is, because it satisfied both sides of the argument. Both the people that want Scar to be a monster and the people who want Scar to be a tortured soul can enjoy this series. This line could mean Scar is telling his daughter that he will kill her if she makes another mistake, but it could also mean that he is telling his daughter to learn to act more wisely because he won't live long enough to take care of her forever. Also, Azra is pregnant at the moment, which makes this page even more complicated. The last page shows that Scar suspects that Azra is pregnant. In that case, this line is either Scar manipulating Azra to make her admit she is pregnant, or him actually being proud of her. It is both if you ask me. You could say Scar is a bad father because he would never go out of his way to be more kind to them. Has he ever told his cubs he loves them? But like me, you could say Scar is far from a perfect father, but he actually does a good enough job. He will be honest with his cubs. He won't fill their heads with beautiful lies. He knows life is not a fairy tale and there is no happily ever after. He has experienced it firsthand, how it feels to be helpless. He knows how horrible his cubs will feel when they grow up to find out how unfair life is. Sometimes some people will harm you just because they can, and they will continue their life without ever being punished. He is honest with them since the beginning. He will be harsh on them because life will be harsh on them and they should be ready for it. He won't show them too much affection because of his trauma. He has gotten in trouble for telling what he feels before. When he was vulnerable, he almost died, and now he can't show emotions that he sees as vulnerability. And yet, despite all his mental difficulties, that is the result of people being cruel or unreasonable to him when he was young, he does his best to be a better father than Ahadi, so that his cubs wouldn't suffer like him. This comic series is a very complicated one. You should say all the small and big tragedies that happen to him justifies the horrible things he will do, or you could say the horrible things he will do will justify all the small and big tragedies that has happened to him. I have personally thought about the complications of morality because of this fan comic, and I still am not completely sure about the results. Vitani will be born. The other cubs will try to steal back the food another pride robbed from them, but they will be spotted. The triplets will run away, but Azra will stay because Nuka isn't fast enough. This pride is actually Valido's pride, and they will surround them. Valido shows up and drops the facade. He did in fact want Azra to gain power. He just wanted to become the future king by marrying her, and then he would kill Scar and Azra with a plan to become the sole ruler of the pridelands. Scar knew it because he is the master of deceit himself. Also, Valido had a mate this whole time. They want to attack Azra, but Scar shows up and challenges Valido. He agrees because no way this skinny lion could defeat him in a fair fight. With the help of Zero, Scar will defeat him, but he will make it look like he killed him the legit way. Azra is the one to do the final move. Of course, when it is time to fight, Scar will tell Zero ladies first. I'm sure they will do it all the time. It is messed up, but it will become romantic when Zero is your wife. Scar and Zero will be proud of Azra for her act of revenge. Also, this panel is so funny out of context. They will find Shetani, who is Valido's wife, and their cub who is the same age as Vitani. There you have it, that's Kovu. We don't know his real name, but he is Kovu from now on because Scar will immediately choose him as his heir when he sees how weirdly similar to him he is and how brave he is despite being very young. Valido's pride are also welcome to stay in Pridelands, so there's the origins of the Outlanders as well. Scar's family are completely against it, but what can they do? Shetani can't even pretend to mourn for Valido. She thinks now that her son is the heir, it means it will be a matter of time when she becomes Scar's mate and queen. So she will be sassy to Zira. But here's the thing Shetani doesn't know. Despite the monster that Scar is, he has one positive personality trait that makes him endearing, and that is the fact that he is loyal to his wife. He has committed many sins, but affair is not one of them, and it will never be one of them. Only his one and only wife is in his lustful fantasies. Shetani tells Scar that maybe they should betroth Kovu and Vitani, but Scar says they are siblings now. Then she stays too close to Scar and tries flirting, but Scar leaves her. That's the type of person Scar is. He will not brag about what a lovely loyal husband he is. He will prove it without any dialogue. Actions talk louder than words after all. But good luck saying that to Zira. She doesn't trust Scar anymore, and Scar's is kitty jealous attitude doesn't help it either. So she will make a plan to kill Shetani. Scar will tell Nuka to keep an eye on Kovu and Vitani, but Nuka says I'm not their father, that's your job, and then leaves. So does Scar chase him to punish him? No, he actually smiles. Usually this would anger him, but because it comes out of Nuka's mouth, it has a different meaning. It means Nuka is brave enough now. He is actually proud of him. He even considers making him his successor, but he will think about it after he talks to Sarabi. Nuka is heartbroken and will secretly wish for Scar's death in anger. This page broke me because I knew what would happen next. It is not hard to assume what scene from the movie will happen next. Now that Scar decides to show more affection to Nuka, he will die. Zira's plan works and Shetani is dead, but as a result she and her daughters are far from Pride Rock and Scar is alone. Nuka is the first to find Scar's dead body, and to be honest, to me it's sadder than Mufasa's death. Nuka thinks Scar is dead because he wished for it. Just like Simba, he will keep quiet about his father's death because he blames himself. But what makes this more tragic to me is that Simba will miss his kind father, but Nuka missed the chance to have a kind father. Nuka will live around people that he thinks they will kill him when he says what he thinks is the truth. Simba will have delusion and will live in a good place, but Nuka has no Hakuna Matata lifestyle as escapism. And this tragedy is only the beginning of his undeservingly harsh life. Simba would be raised by friendly people, but Nuka would be stuck with a mother that will become more and more abusive toward him the more time passes. Simba will eventually find a happily ever after, but for Nuka, death is the moment that ends his suffering. The next page, to some people, is an example of a bad father that becomes much more beloved by his kids when he dies. But to me, it is the moment that the family that I have started to care for will be shattered. Somehow Scar, this monster, was the glue that kept this family together, and without him this broken family becomes much more toxic. Mufasa's death stopped being sad on the 10th rewatch, but I don't know why this death never stops being sad. You know what? No, I know exactly why. I root for the bad guys. I hate the good guys here. I don't care that this family of protagonists are actually the villains. I didn't spend much time with the heroes, no. I spent time with the villains, and as a result, I care about them. I care about them, and I don't care what bad things they have done and will do. I take their side because they are the ones that are dear to me, which makes me a villain as well, doesn't it? Now they live in the Outlands with even less food and water. Everyone depressed. After days of crying, Zira will become the lioness she is in The Lion King 2. She hated Kovu, but when he takes a deeper look at him, she finally realizes how similar he is to Scar. So now she will become obsessed with him and vow to train him to become Scar's successor and dethrone Simba. Now, before I continue, I should say what was the theme of this series in general. If you ask me, this story is about one word: trust. It's about knowing who to trust and who not to. If Taka didn't trust Freya, if Taka's parents had some faith in him, if the lions didn't hate the hyenas for no reason, if Taka and Sarabi trusted each other more/less, if Sarabi didn't trust her feelings, if Taka's parents didn't just assume Taka would learn some stuff without telling him, if they didn't trust Riku with Taka, if Riku's family didn't trust him more simply because he was family, if almost all the lionesses of a pride didn't bully a helpless cub because of their trust in a pride sister, if other lions weren't embarrassed of Taka for being too innocent of a cub to hate hyenas for no reason, if Ahadi accepted Zira as his family, if Uru didn't trust Ahadi with how he handles fatherhood, if Scar trusted what Ahadi said. These are many what ifs that surround the topic of trust. If people didn't slowly take all the innocent out of this helpless cub, he would never seek attention from a monster. If everyone treated Taka and Zira better, then we would never reach this question. Why they trusted Scar and Zira? Now they think they were right, that if they just killed them when they were cubs, then none of this would have happened. But in reality, they just needed to trust the innocence of a cub. They just needed to be kind so that the innocent little Taka would never turn into the heartless Scar. And in the end, if Zira trusted Scar, he could have survived. She thought her husband was cheating on him, and because of her lack of trust, her husband died. In chapter 4, Azra's son, Koza, is born, and he is almost the same age as Kovu and Vitani. Death of Scar was the death of the family. They barely function as a family. Everyone yelling at each other, everyone blaming each other, everyone hating each other. After Scar's death, this comic series is more on the depressing side than the tragic side. Azra will tell Koza that Kovu is adopted, and he will shout it at Kovu when they argue. As punishment, Azra and Koza won't get any share of the hunt, and they should hunt on their own. Azra tries to teach hunting to Koza. The next day, he doesn't want to learn hunting, so he explores and finds Koppa. He is a baby and can't talk. He fell into a maze and end up in the Outlands. Zira will find Koppa and attacks him. But before she does any serious damage to him, she hears Scar's voice, who asks her to spare Koppa so that she would benefit from it one day. Koza finds Koppa. He thinks if he brings Koppa to his home, Koppa will die, and if he takes him to the pridelands, he will die. So he decides to take him far from pridelands and outlands, and they will live together far from their families. Azra, poor girl, will wait for the return of her son for years. She blames Kovu and will hate him for the rest of her life. A cheetah takes care of Koza and Koppa until they learn to take care of themselves. I love Koppa's hairstyle as a teenager. He and Koza will meet a teenage lioness named Jalia. She is the princess of a small kingdom. She asks her parents to let them join, but they will disagree the moment they realize Kozo is an outlander. They say stuff like it's their destiny to become evil, or they are like a disease that corrupts everyone with hate and anger, or they bring destruction everywhere they go. It's so unfair. Pridelanders are the ones that turned Scar and Zero into monsters, and now the Pridelanders have over-exaggerated their evil deeds so much that the Outlanders are doomed forever. This whole thing is just so racist. It horrifies me. Jalio decides to run away and live with Kozo and Koppa. Kozo and Jalio will become mates. Koppa wants Kozo to tell him where Pridelands is so that he would return. Kozo feels that if Koppa realizes he is a prince and could have a great life instead of being a rogue, he would be mad at him. So he won't tell him, but he tells Jalio about it. She convinces him to take them to Pridelands, but he won't tell Koppa he is a prince. When they get close, Jalio tells Kozo if he doesn't tell Koppa, then she will. So Kozo yells at her but instantly regrets it. She tells Koppa, but Koppa seems to be cool with Kozo. After apologizing to Koppa, Kozo will apologize to Jalio and promise her that he will never yell at her again. When she was telling Koppa that he is a prince, Azra attacks, but Koppa saves Jalio, but Kozo won't find this out. During the encounter with Azra, Jalio sees her eyes that remind her of Kozo. She realized that Azra was an outlander, and now she fears that Kozo might become dangerous like her. This paranoia prevents the apology to do the job. She loves Koppa now. Although she agreed that Kozo was very kind today, she has made her decision. She heard from her parents that being with an outlander ends in suffer and tears, but she didn't know Kozo would be the one who suffers. So did she basically said that she wants Koppa now because Kozo isn't fun anymore? Is she basically confirming that she knows she is wrong? What's next? Will she get tired of Koppa and choose another person then? The next day, Koppa will save Zero from a river. This is clearly after Lion King 2's final battle. Zero is alive. She wakes up and sees her grandson. She asks him if he saved her. Kozo, in a shock, will say yes, which doesn't amuse Jalio. When she is alone with Zero, Zero tells her that she knows she is Kozo's mate, and she knows she wants to leave him for Koppa. Zero asks her why she is so scared. Jalio says because she heard outlanders are dangerous. Zero says they are dangerous only when they are mistreated. If someone messes with one of them, they have messed with all of them, and they will never let a Pridelander take something from them. She warns her that if she hurts Kozo, she will skin her alive. Zero will apologize to Kozo for being harsh on him, and he forgives her. Zero is broken. Kovu, Vitani, and her pride betrayed her. Nuka is dead, and Azra and the triplets are missing. There is a chance that only her grandson is left for her. Jalio will tell Kozo that she is going with Koppa and won't come back to him. She knows what she is doing is wrong, but that's what her feelings tell her. She goes, leaving a heartbroken Kozo in Zero's arm. I do not like Jalio. Jalio just left him without a good reason. She just proved the cruelty of Pridelanders to Kozo, which makes him cold. This is how being evil is in an outlander's blood. It is not about blood. They just mistreat them because of their parents, and when they slowly and painfully take all the innocence out of them, they will think that the false prophecies were were true, Azra was looking for Koza during the battles of Lion King 2, and just now she comes back to the Outlands. Only seeing the triplets, they tell her about the betrayals and losses, death of Nuka being the one that breaks Azra. She will vow to have revenge. When Koppa reaches Pridelands with Jalia, he decides to leave again because from afar he can see that they are already a complete family and he doesn't want to complicate things. So they will go and live on their own. Zero and Koza will meet the queen of some white lionesses. Her name is Baridi, who is nicknamed the Devil on Earth, because unlike Scar and his family, she was just born evil, which makes her a perfect ally for revenge. Koza and Baridi will destroy Jalia's pride. Each of the triplets have a child now, and they are even less important than the triplets. The moment the triplets stopped being cubs, they stopped being interesting. I mean, just the fact that I am not sure which name belongs to which lioness says it all, which is a big problem. They don't have enough personality. They have always been a package deal and have never been treated as three individuals. Wouldn't it be more interesting if one of them died during Lion King 2 and then the other two would have different reactions? For example, if one of them joined Simba to prevent more loss, but one of them vowed to avenge her sister, Azra, the triplets and their children will meet Zero and Koza and they will reunite. Koza and Baridi will become mates and will have a daughter named Giza. Our villains have a new plan thanks to Zero. From now on, they will destroy some prides and take their children, or they would kidnap the children and tell the pride they will kill the cubs if they try to rescue them. Baridi will pretend to murder all those cubs to raise an army. Azra will find Jalia and kill her and kidnap her daughter Adia. When Koppa comes back, they have already left and now there is only a dying Jalia left. So Azra killed a girl because she cheated on her son? Mother of the year, everyone. She will also go to Pridelands and pretend to be cool with them so that one day they would kidnap Kiara and Kovu's twin sons. In chapter 5, we will reach a topic of this series that I actually hate, and that topic is the character of Vitani. The character assassination of Vitani, to be exact. The Pridelanders have learned nothing and are mistreating Vitani simply because of who her parents are. They believe the spirit of one's parents live in the blood of their descendants, which is BS, because you know, Mufasa and Scar were both children of Ahadi and Uru, and yet they were totally different from each other. Now Vitani has to live this unfair life, and there are two ways of writing a story around that. First is to show how she continues being a hero despite all the unfair treatment, to show what a strong character Vitani is. Second is to kill Vitani. Either she would be mistreated so much that she would finally break down and die because of depression, or some Pridelanders would come up with a plan to kill Vitani by backstabbing in order to quote purge Pridelands from Scar's bloodline, which is disrespectful toward the second Lion King movie, but it would show how cruel people are, which is one of the themes of this comic, and it actually gives a good reason to the villains to continue their villainy. Or you could do the forbidden third way and completely undo Vitani's arc, which would quote justify people's action towards her, which also disrespects Lion King 2, but this one doesn't bring anything new to the table because it's just a lesser version of Taka's arc of transforming into Scar. I hate what they did with Vitani here. She will come back to Zero and apologize. They will kill Sarabi and kidnap Kesar and Nuru, and they will make sure the heroes will see Zero, Koza and Baridi before they leave. When Nuru sees Zero, he thinks she is going to eat him because he knows who she is. And Zero would say, I only eat stupid cubs. You are not stupid, are you? Never change, Zero. never change. Baridi will mention Nuka's death to Zero when she criticizes her motherhood. Vitani will adopt Adia. Sarabi's spirit will guide Kiara to her sons. Zero has gotten too old and she knows it is her time to die. And it is surprisingly peaceful for a character like her. She can't wait to become a dark star. Vitani says in that case, she will never be visible at night. And Azra reminds Zero that she never believed in fairy tales. Zero's answer to Vitani is, I have always preferred the dark ones, which is beautiful in its weird messed up way. And her answer to Azra is, in every fairy tale is a grain of truth. She will say her goodbyes and asks her family to take care of each other and says that she will look over them. Koppa finds Zero. She tells him that she spared him so that he would later save her, which was what Scar told her. She tells Koppa that she is not alone, as we see the ghost of Scar next to her. This panel is beautiful. No matter how corrupted their souls are, Scar and Zero's love for each other is eternal. Koppa will reunite with Kiara and helps her save her sons. Koppa will reunite with his parents. Baridi will betray Koza and will show Giza that she doesn't care about anyone but herself. But in the end, only Baridi will die. The rest of the villains just kind of get tired of being villains and give up, which would usually be anticlimactic, but considering how depressing chapter 4 was, yeah, this ending makes sense in this comic series. They will just let go and live somewhere far away. The kidnapped cubs will be reunited with their parents and the orphans will be welcomed in the pridelands. Koppa will go with Scar and Zero's children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren because he feels he doesn't belong to the pridelands anymore, and also to keep an eye on them. But he will promise to visit them from time to time. He will live with his daughter again, but he knows she doesn't remember him, so he lets Vitani to continue being the only parent figure in Adia's life. Then there are a few short comics. There is this comic that is the #1 funniest Lion King thing ever. Then there's For All Time's Sake that happens in the early days of Scar's kingdom. Sarabi is trying to start over with Scar and become friends again. Scar will show a little bit of vulnerability before becoming cruel again. Then there's Azra's Wish, which happens after Ahadi's death. Azra is having nightmares about it. She feels conflicted about her father. She still loves him, but she doesn't know if he is a hero or a murderer, because on one hand he saved her life, but on the other hand he killed his own father. Azra will go to play with Simba and Nala even though Zero didn't allow it. Scar tells Zero that she will come back soon, and he was right, because Simba and Nala bullied her, so she ran to Scar's arms asking him to stop them. Scar will promise to Azra that nobody will speak badly about her again. The next day is the day that Scar becomes king. Azra is horrified, wondering if her father has committed murder again. I wonder how it feels to have parents like them. Parents that love you, but when it comes to anyone else, they are monsters. And judging from this panel, it doesn't seem to be even close to being a pleasant feeling. Poor girl had the worst of both worlds, because usually it's like this: either your parents are very good people and they are good parents, so when they die you are sad, or your parents are bad people who are also bad parents, so you are sad when they exist, but when they die you are finally free, so you are either happy before their death or after their death. But for the case of Azra, there is no happy part, because her parents are bad people but are somehow good parents. So when they are alive, she still feels bad because she knows her parents are ruining other people's lives. But when they die, she is still sad because now she has lost the people who genuinely loved her, and she probably hates herself for loving them despite knowing how evil they are. No wonder Azra will become a villain as well. She will go crazy because of her unique situation. In the short comic A New Start, Koza will talk to Azra about the Great Kings. Azra genuinely believes believes that Scar and Zero are guiding them. Koza will see a dark spirit of Scar on one way and will see Jalia and the cop versions of Scar and Zero on another. Koza will lead the pride to that path, away from the dark spirit of Scar. In the short comic Afterlife, we will see the life after death. The cop version of Zero will come out of Zero's corpse. She will see Sarabi, Uru, and Cop Taka. Taka and Zero don't have their scars anymore. They will leave Zero's corpse. Then a dark spirit version of adult Zero comes out of it. She will be greeted by Scar's dark spirit. Even when only darkness is left of them, the love they have for each other still stays. So here's the lore dump. When a lion dies, his or her spirit will be torn in two usually uneven halves. One half for the light side and one for the dark side. When a good lion dies, the light half of it will be an adult and the dark half will be a cop. And for an evil lion, it's the opposite. That's because even the good guys have done small evils here and there, and even the bad guys have done a few good things here and there. And if a morally grey lion dies, it will be a light teenager and a dark teenager. If a cop dies, it will only be a light cop and no dark cop. The dark spirits, it's the babies, and it doesn't matter if the baby is light or dark. For example, Mufasa is a light adult and a dark cop, but Taka is a light cop and a dark adult. The light cops will be protected by the light adults, and the dark cops will be eaten by the dark adults, which makes the light adults even more powerful. The dark adults want to eat the light cops, but they are helpless against the adults. Don't they look happy now? We are able to protect them where we failed in life. Against us, the dark shadows are powerless, but the little souls will always need our help. Life made us blind to their needs, but here everything is different. It is our destiny to protect the little souls from their own dark shadows, which already defeated them in life. That we all become one pride, one family without any sorrows. The evil part of Scar will feel eternal hunger, and the light side is finally happy in a family that takes care of him. This comic series broke me a few times, and tears of sadness and tears of happiness, both of them, is what you will have at the end of this series. From this page, I assume Cop Scar still has some memories of adult Scar, which makes it awkward for Nuka. I love how Nuka is actually an adult here, because I think Nuka just didn't have the ability to think straight. He was basically a cop trapped in the body of an adult, which means he isn't evil. He is just misguided, and all his sins are the fault of his parents. Also, Chaka, the stillborn son of Scar and Zero, is here. It's heartwarming that Scar and Zero finally got back the child they lost in their life. It would be interesting to make the dark spirit of Scar see Chaka's spirit. It would be interesting if Scar wanted to eat him at first, but he would immediately change his mind when he realizes it is his son. In reality, he would have eaten him. Why do I say that? Because baby Taka is the part of Scar that cares for his family. So when Azra asks Scar and Zero for guidance, they do actually guide their daughter. But they are cubs now. Because the part of Scar that cares for his children is his light side, and his dark side only is selfish, so he has no love for his children anymore. So yeah, when Koza sees the baby version of Scar and Zero and follows them, that is actually Scar and Zero guiding their descendants, but they are just cubs now. So yeah, that's actually a satisfying ending. Scar and Zero are really looking over their cubs. Even in the afterlife, they will continue loving and caring for their cubs. So I guess the best way to finish this section is with this wholesome art of the family we have been following this whole time. A family of villains that, despite their evil acts, love each other, even though they won't show it all the time. A family of villains that their genuine love for each other makes us love them.